Well, I saw more of Mark Wahlberg than I ever needed to see, but at least the movie was good. Hey there guys, what's up? What's going on? It is Autobot Mike 18 here, back with another movie review. Guys, I have been slipping. I missed last old movie review for last weekend. I'm trying to do one every single weekend for you guys. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry I missed last weekend. It was Memorial Day weekend, but I was busy working on an editing assignment, which is why I didn't do an old movie review, or why I didn't upload a video all Memorial Day weekend. So nevertheless, I obviously want to get back on track with my old movie reviews. So I'm actually going to give you guys a few of them this week and this weekend. Also, another reason I'm not going to be around on YouTube for a week in early June, in 2 weeks from now actually. It's June 2nd already, whoa. I'm going to be away on a shoot for a whole week, so I'm not going to get any videos up then. So I want to make up time and give you guys a lot of old movie reviews now while I still can. Because you guys enjoy them and I enjoy watching these movies. So yeah, I have another old movie review for you today. I have finally watched, I know a lot of you are going to be ashamed with me, but I have finally watched Paul Thomas Anderson's Boogie Nights. That's right, I do not have a cover or Blu-ray, sorry about that. You're just going to have to watch me talk for the entire video. I know it's hard, but just bear with me. So guys, Boogie Nights was released in 1997, and this was, I believe, Paul Thomas Anderson's second big feature film. The guy has went on to direct a lot of big he hasn't made, like, I looked up his filmography before I shot this. He hasn't made 10 movies yet, actually. I was like wondering, like, if people like ranked all of his films. Like, he hasn't made enough for people to make like a list of his top 10 movies. He's only made about 7 movies so far. But this is one of his like first big ones. He had this. He also did Magnolia, Punch Drunk Love. He did There Will Be Blood, The Master, and Inherent Vice. And I think he did one more before this one. And admittedly, the only Paul Thomas Anderson film that I have seen before watching Boogie Nights last night was There Will Be Blood. I watched There Will Be Blood. I loved that movie. I reviewed that movie last summer for my old movie reviews last summer. That was one of my favorites that I watched last summer. That movie was just fantastic in every sense of the word. So naturally, I was really looking forward to Boogie Nights because I loved There Will Be Blood so much. I was definitely looking forward to this. So let's get into the synopsis behind Boogie Nights, and then I'll get into my overall thoughts on the movie and everything like that. So guys, Boogie Nights is set in the late 1970s and early 1980s, and we follow a young high school dropout, works as a busboy at a late night club. His name is Eddie when we first meet him, and he's played by Mark Wahlberg. Now, he is introduced to this rising very renowned, very well-known porn director, Jack I'm forgetting his name. He's played by Burt Reynolds, though. Very renowned, well-known porn actor. He meets Mark Wahlberg's character and immediately sees potential in him. He's like, okay, I'm gonna make something of this kid. I could totally do it. And Mark Wahlberg has, he's very young. He's a pretty decent actor, when he's on set, but he has a very, very unusually large penis, which is obviously going to help him in porn. Of course, why wouldn't it? As soon as Burt Reynolds gets a hold of him, Mark Wahlberg's character rises to fame within the porn industry, and the story takes off from there. And that, my friends, is the basic synopsis behind Boogie Nights. Let me say this. Going into Boogie Nights, I didn't know a ton about the movie. I knew some of the cast. This movie has a huge ensemble cast, which I'll get into everyone's performance and everything. Not in depth, but I'll mention everyone. But yeah, this movie has a really, really big ensemble cast, and I knew most of everyone who was in it, and I knew that it was delving into the porn industry, but I didn't know how much. Like, I thought that was only going to be a small factor in the movie. That's the gist of the movie, I'd say, for the most part. So yeah, I really didn't know what to expect going into Boogie Nights, other than the fact that I knew it was probably going to be good because Paul Thomas Anderson really blew me away with There Will Be Blood. This was one of his first movies, and guys, Boogie Nights is fucking awesome. Okay, boom. I loved it. I'm sorry for dropping that, but I had to. I love this freaking movie. Holy shit, from the first scene alone, that opening shot, right when we cut from black to the title of the movie, and the music started blasting, I knew I was in for a treat. I knew I was going to love this movie, and I absolutely did. The entire way through, I don't think there was one moment where I fell out of this movie, one moment where I felt like, oh, I don't buy this, I don't buy this character, I don't buy these relationships. I became totally invested and engrossed within this story. I 100% bought this movie as a period piece, without a doubt. Excellent work with the costumes and everything, and the music. I'll get into the soundtrack. Wow. But I was so into and it's for many reasons why I think Boogie Nights is a fantastic movie. I'll get into all of them. What I first want to cover, of course, is the I want to cover the filmmaking aspect of this movie in terms of camera work and all that. That's what I want to cover first. I usually talk about like actors and everything. I want to cover that because I think that's where this movie thrives at its core. Don't get me wrong. The entire ensemble cast is magnificent. I think this is an incredible ensemble of actors who were kind of up and coming at this point. This movie was released in 97. By the way, another fun fact. I did not know this movie was released in 97 until I read up about the movie later on. I had no idea this was shot and released in 97. I thought it was like shot in the 80s or something. I thought it was an 80s movie, honestly. I didn't know. Just to goes to show, I did not know a lot about Paul Thomas Anderson or about the movie itself going into it, obviously. But from a filmmaking standpoint, and as a filmmaker, I really loved this movie for two important reasons. Number one, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. The movie is so incredibly shot. I think the same guy who shot There Will Be Blood shot this movie. Robert Elswit, I think is his name. Excellent DP. Holy crap, excellent DP. The tracking shots in this movie are so incredible. I love how this movie is so fast and engaging. It never slows down because of the camera work. The camera work is so fast. And there's very few like static tracking. A lot of shots are handheld, but it's not like so shaky, like, oh, the camera operator didn't know what he was doing with the camera. No, it's like handheld, but you buy it because of the energy of the moment, the energy of the scene. And from, like I said, from that opening tracking shot alone, my mind was just blown at how they managed to introduce every single main character, for the most part, in that one scene, to show that our main character of Jack, I'm forgetting his last name, I do not know why, played by Burt Reynolds, how he has so much status and how well known he is, and how people like idolize this guy. He comes into this club, there's a whole crowd of people waiting to come in, and he just pulls up right in front in his car with Julianne Moore's character, who was also very good. Burt Reynolds was incredible. And they meet the like bouncer manager of the club. Maurice is his name in the movie, and he just lets him in. He wants to be in one of Jack's movies, and it's just so incredible. It reminded me so much of the tracking shot from Goodfellas, where Ray Liotta goes into the restaurant with his wife in the movie, the character's wife. It really reminded me of that, and I was like, wow, that's so impressive. And I love that. And I love how the tracking shot culminates in ending on essentially our main character, where like the frame rate slows down, and we focus on Mark Wahlberg, and he's the only one out of all these people who is not living it up in this club. And that was a beautiful introduction to that character, who is an incredible character to follow throughout this entire movie, to see his rise and his eventual downfall, and his path for sort of redemption, I guess, in the end of the movie. I loved it. I loved how it was carried out. Brilliantly executed shot. And the rest of the movie is just like that. There are some gorgeous other tracking shots in this movie that are very well composed, and very meaningful to each scene. There's not just a tracking shot because it looks cool. But I love Paul Thomas Anderson's decisions to not throw a lot of cuts in scenes. I love his decisions to have a lack of cuts and have a lot more longer shots to carry out the performance and also add to the excitement of the scene. And I think that works so well with his movies, and it works so well with the other long takes in this movie. And I love how the movie relies a lot more on long takes and a lot less on cuts, and I think that whenever a movie can do that, it is a very damn good movie. There is an amazing tracking shot with William H. Macy that I don't want to spoil. It was excellent. There's another one that introduces us to like a party scene. We follow a bunch of characters at a party. The camera like goes underwater. Someone jumps in a pool, and there was probably a cut there, but I don't care. It felt seamless to me. This entire movie feels very seamless, and it's like there's. After having like watched it, it feels like there's like hardly any cuts in this movie, and the cuts that are present in the movie, and this also goes to the editors, good job, because I didn't feel them. Whenever you don't feel a cut in a movie, you can tell it's a good movie and it's a good cut. It also showed just how absorbed and engaged I was in the story and how I loved it, how much I enjoyed it. The lighting is great, the shots look amazing, the cinematography, blocking of actors. I think this is an amazing film from a directorial standpoint, and I don't know if Paul Thomas Anderson was nominated for an Oscar for directing. This for sure, by the way, was better than Titanic, which won the Oscar in '97. Without a doubt, this is a better movie than Titanic. Just throwing that out there. But the fact that this movie had like no Oscar nominations apart from like 3, and yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson got a nom for writing, and that was it, which is a disgrace. He should have gotten a directing nom, but Academy. No, seriously, I think from a directorial standpoint, this movie is fantastic. Another reason why I loved this movie so much was from a filmmaking standpoint, and this ties into the script, and that's the next thing I want to bring up, is how the script is really about a bunch of filmmakers making porn films, pornos. And I really loved that. I loved how it delved into that aspect. They have, like, lighting kit props on set, and I connect to that because I'm a filmmaker myself. And at the core, Jack's character, Burt Reynolds' character, is a porno director who wants to preserve film, especially at a time when videotapes were emerging in the 1980s. I love how they included that aspect of the movie. I love how they focused on his character as the director, and they delved into the filmmaking aspect of making pornography instead of just showing characters having sex and that's it. Like, I love how Phillip Seymour Hoffman plays a boom operator, who was just freaking hilarious in this movie, by the way. I'll get into the cast. So I loved how it delves into that filmmaking aspect, and there are a lot of conversations that characters have with one another about like buying expensive lighting equipment or changing up the photography of the porn shoots that they're doing because they want to make it look cool. And I love how Burt Reynolds' character is so fleshed out. He's a porno director who, yes, wants to make a porno, but he wants to make a porno that is going to captivate the audience and not just want to have them sit there just for the sex. Like, he wants them to get a good story out of it. And I love that character in general, and I thought that the writing in general of this movie, from that aspect, from a filmmaking perspective, is really, really damn good, and it was so refreshing to see a bunch of filmmakers making a movie, specifically a porno, and then focusing, the director, Paul Thomas Anderson, deciding to focus on that in both the script and in his shots, and I love that. I also feel that this is an incredible look at the porn industry, because the first half of this movie really, really glamorizes how it is to be not just a porn star, but just to be like in that celebrity lifestyle where you're in the limelight, you know, you're so successful, you're getting recognized and everything. And while that's all well and good, there's going to be a lot of negative that comes about from that. And I love how the second act is literally beat after beat of showing how far these characters descend into desperation and greed and a life of drugs and, you know, loss. And it's just a really thought-provoking piece of screenplay writing, and it's really brilliant in my opinion, because the whole first act of the movie, I'm like, okay, I'm seeing how amazing this is, and I just can't wait for the problems to arise in this movie, because the first act, I was so absorbed and engaged into it. Like, this is so amazing to see how they're making a porn film from the filmmaking aspects, and it's important to see how these people love what they're doing in the porn industry. actors and the filmmakers. Then we get to see how far they descend into desperation and just wanting to make money off of it, so that they're getting to the point where they're not even making good stuff anymore. Like, there's an amazing scene in this movie with Burt Reynolds and Heather Graham in a taxi, and you could just see how desperate they are to make something different at this time period. They have a video camera and they're filming. They want to get strange men off the street into the car to have sex with Heather Graham's character, and I love that scene. I love that whole, how it was cut together with another scene of Mark Wahlberg, and it was just a really well done sequence in my opinion, and it really showed just how desperate these characters are, and just how much fame could really get to someone's head, and I really, really loved that, how that was shown in this movie. All in all, the screenplay writing is fantastic. Getting into the performances, Mark Wahlberg blew me away in this movie. He was excellent. I really thought he was excellent, because I absolutely saw a transformation in his character. He's this really, when we first meet him, he's this really soft-spoken, quiet guy, really keeps to himself for the most of it. For the movie, he's very, not shy, but he's quiet, you know what I mean? He's a busboy, okay? And he's seeing how all of this goes on in this nightclub. All these people are like living these lavish lifestyles. They're living it up, you know. They're probably going home with these beautiful women, all these guys, and he's just the busboy there. And that's so brilliantly showed how he wants to be amongst that lifestyle in a way. Part of him longs for that in that first tracking shot when we first meet him. It's really smart imagery. I thought Wahlberg killed it. I thought this is one of his best performances I've seen from him. Burt Reynolds was incredible. Julianne Moore was great playing a porn star. Let's see, who else is in this movie? John C. Reilly was great playing another porn actor. Don Cheadle was hilarious in this movie. Phillip Seymour Hoffman, God rest this man's soul, was incredible. Okay, he had me laughing from first moment we are introduced to him to his very last scene. I couldn't stop laughing at his character and how just he was that one character who was just so far out there. I loved that. That was hilarious. Heather Graham was good in the movie. Luis Guzman, who plays Maurice, the bar manager, the nightclub manager guy, he was great. I think the whole ensemble is really, really good. William H. Macy as well is in this movie. I thought he did a great job. I was just, the ensemble cast is terrific, without a doubt. I mean, as a period piece, the movie works flawlessly. It looks like, I felt like I was in the 70s. Without a doubt, I think they captured the era perfectly of the 1970s. Not only with costumes and location and lighting and like the club scenes and hairstyling and everything. Mark Wahlberg's hair in this movie, by the way, just perfect. But I loved the soundtrack of this movie. I am not a huge fan of oldies music. I'm really not. I'm going to be honest. But you know, when you got some great hit songs from the 70s and the 80s in your soundtrack, and they fit so well with each scene, and they got the rights to use all this music, it's just an amazing soundtrack that fit the tone of the movie so perfectly to a T. Let me just say this much. There's one scene, I rewatched it because I was just so blown away by it. There's this one shot that holds on Mark Wahlberg. He's in this one guy's house. It's towards the third act of the movie. And it's playing the song Jesse's Girl. And I love that moment. It's one of my favorite moments of the whole movie. It's just it's probably like a shot that goes on for like a minute long, and Wahlberg's just staring, and we hear the lyrics of the song, and it's so perfectly juxtaposed with what's going on with this character in the movie. Guys, I love Boogie Nights. I love the opening. I love the 3-act structure. I bought into it right when it gets to the as soon as it says 80s, as soon as that word pops up on screen, I immediately knew that was the midpoint of the film, and we were halfway through this movie, and that is when everything was going to go south. I was like, okay, shit's about to get real here. Things are going to get worse for these characters, and I loved the descent that these characters went on, the journey they all went on, and what the toll of fame and being a celebrity in the porn industry took on all of them, and it was just a brilliant journey to watch unfold throughout this movie. I think this is a brilliant incredibly well crafted and executed piece of filmmaking that is so intricately directed, shot, and written and acted by its lead cast. I think Paul Thomas Anderson is a force to be reckoned with, and I think this is probably one of my favorite movies of all time, just by giving it the one watch. I loved what it was saying, what it delved into, the story and everything was just perfect. Boogie Nights gets my highest grade, a 10 out of 10 or an A+. I love this movie so damn much. I want to go and watch it again already. Guys, that is all I have to say about Boogie Nights. I'm probably like 20 minutes in. I don't care. This is such a good movie. I had a lot to say. Guys, what did you think of Boogie Nights? Let me know down below in the comments. I'd love to hear what your thoughts were on the movie. If you've seen it. If you have not seen it, please go see it. I cannot wait to watch another Paul Thomas Anderson film now, because this was just freaking amazing. Right up there with There Will Be Blood. So there you have it, guys. Those are my thoughts on Boogie Nights. Leave me your thoughts on it down below. And I will see you guys in my next old movie review. Bye, guys.